So hello everybody and welcome into the latest edition in our series of SMI podcasts. We're delighted today to welcome to the podcast studio Martin White, who Martin is really, I suppose, if you looked at, summed him up, he's really one of those major innovators in the maritime trade sphere. Martin pops up with a lot of really, really good ideas. He's CEO of Stream Marine, one of the major maritime training companies that's supplying training services out into the shipping industry in the maritime sector globally. He's also involved with other companies like Ty Street and also Intelligent Seas Group, but also going to talk a bit about it today. He's CEO of something very, very exciting, Maritime. But Martin, we're talking today on a very, very hot day, and I know you're there in London. You're about to embark and going over to the Chelsea Flower Show or whatever, but London's lovely this summer, isn't it?
Yes, it is, especially at the moment, Sean, and thanks so much for having me on the podcast today. It is in the early 30s, it's sunny, and yes, the summer has arrived officially.
It's about time. We've had some grotty weather. But Martin, I talked to you, introduced you there, CEO of Marine. A lot of our readers know about you. They have read about you past. But talk to me a little bit, a couple of minutes there about Stream Marine, because that was really what set you up on this journey, wasn't it, into the maritime training. So then I want to really focus on maritime. But Stream Marine, tell me a little about
that. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously coming ashore from being at sea, both in the maritime shipping side and the oil and gas energy side. Stream Marine's coming into year 15 in January. I can't believe that. It's 15 years in January since we ran our first course and traded our first revenue. It's come on significantly since then. I think this year will surpass last year's record and issue more than about 15,000 certificates across the maritime oil and gas, maritime energy, oil and gas renewable sector. And particularly big growth areas for us are the decarbonisation in the shipping industry and the renewable side of shipping that the workboat sector is participating in. And we see those as two great big areas of growth. And of course, the cruise industry, which is seeing its sort of exponential growth the last few years as well. So really exciting times to be in maritime training with so much activity and so much change and development going on with all these new technologies, but also really seeing the expansion of the fleet and the increased levels of competency demands on our seafarers.
When you look at the trade side, because as you rightly say, new regulations coming in, new stipulations, the industry's moving forward at that rate of knots. Seafarers need training. There's 1.5 million seafarers at sea at any one time. So, 2 to 2.5 million, available seafarers there. They need training. And looking at the industry itself, Martin, are they understanding of the need for their seafarers to continually go on this sort of training progress to actually ensure that they are up to the standards? So it's not just about meeting the terms of STCW, it's having a competent seafarer force that can do the job and do it, at very, very high levels of quality.
Well, that's where we've seen exponential growth in both the Stream Marine portfolio, where we see companies go above and beyond the minimum standards coming out through STCW, especially in areas around the IGF where low flashpoint fuels present increased hazards and risks. So we're seeing companies invest into not just the minimum standard, but specific training for safety. We're seeing a lot of investment just now into battery awareness, battery fire awareness as well, not just for the carriage of batteries, but also for battery cars, onboard ferries and short seaweed transport. So we're seeing that is not in STCW as yet, but we are seeing people invest in competency programs. And of course, last but certainly not least, is the amount of additional high quality training we're seeing people acquiring through our portfolio from Intelligent Seas, where they're really investing in future seafarer competency. And for me, that business is all about absolute highest quality of training, highest quality learning, using modern techniques of learning styles. We're using an EIgram that's 3 years into university or Strathclyde partnership. So we'll get really unique ways of working there, and they're absolutely working. The feedback for that is absolutely fantastic. And for me, very, very exciting new chapter in training competency for seafarers.
So how does ISG differ from Stream Marine for the listeners? How would you describe one over the other?
Stream Marine is very practical, very hands-on. We have swimming pools, safety sea survival pools, fire training facilities, lifeboats, fast rescue boats, laboratories for cryogenic work, and physical practical simulation, working at height for renewable energy, marine evacuation. So very practical, very physical asset training, sometimes blended with, and more of our training. We're going through an exciting acceleration on blended learning, so kind of online learning, blended practical training. Intelligent Seas is pure online e-learning and really focused in on very high quality online learning. And also we have designed things to bespoke to the actual company's requirements and integrate with the safety management systems. So what I mean by that is actually instead of having generic online course. Our courses are aligned with what the company actually do for an operation, what safety equipment they'll actually have on the ship, what is the layout of that vessel, what is the type of operation that they do. So we're really aligned with companies' own competency programs and safety management systems. So that's really high quality focused training, as well as measurable ways of learning. So not every course is the same for everyone. Depends on learning style potentially. So something which is very unique and very new. So it's very much an educational technology business versus what would a traditional e-learning online learning business be. So something really quite exciting. We see it's very high quality, very futuristic, and really exciting ways that we're already proving that the outputs of that learning are increased when benchmarked against what traditional learning online would look like. So that business will work well alongside a practice training centre because of the blended learning vision for the future, but very independent in its own way of working and thinking.
Well, I want to also come on to a very, very exciting initiative is the Maritime Passport. Now, this whole idea of having a seafarer's details with his qualifications, his competency, his compliance, all held digital, sounds very, very attractive. Tell me how it all fits in with the Maritime Passport initiative. Also against the backdrop of why hasn't that happened before? I mean, it's something that is really, really of value to the industry. But talk to me a little bit about Maritime Passport.
Yeah, well, Maritime Passport really was a vision that I had a number of years ago. It started off with around digital certification, where we're handing all this paper documentation through Stream Marine to these seafarers. Globally, that's the way the industry worked. We've done a little bit of transitioning between paper certification, which we still issue under the administrations and flag states we work with, but also electronic versions, which we now see. The big challenges that I see where how do you prepare a seafarer digital system where all of the seafarer certification can be held within a seafarer passport wallet? How is that data protected and secure? How does that work with the varying connectivity challenges around the world? Of course, low bandwidth satellite technology is improving that, but it's still connectivity is an issue. How do you do instant and live verification? And how do you protect the seafarer from that data being exposed as well, or indeed exposed, or even worse, commercialized? So for me, that I went on that journey over the last 5 years. We believe we have a world-class product that reaches a gold standard worldwide across data protection regulations, security and seafarer secure identity regulations, having data stored that it totally empowered by and belongs to the person who that certification is assigned to, by whether a flag administration or a training centre, or indeed a seafarer record book. And how would a port state control access that data safely and securely? How would they share it with their employer? How would they share it with the ship manager? How would they share it with the captain? And how is that trusted? So that real trusted single source of truth when it comes to verifiable credentials. So that's what I believe that we've achieved there. And we're providing the technology, which, of course, that platform can be used by multiple key stakeholders around the government administrations and flag regulators as well. As we see, that's the core stakeholder there when it comes to authorising seafarer record books and certificate of competencies, certificate of equivalent competencies, and of course, ensuring that is the true identity of the seafarer.
Who's the driver behind this in terms of the industry taking it up? Is it going to be, as you said, the flag state, or is it going to be the seafarer himself? Because he's nomadic. He goes from one job to another. We know that, Martin. They'll switch one fleet to another. They've been paid $50 a month more or whatever, and he wants to take all of this. Or is it the employer who's saying, well, look, I need to make sure that, the authorities, regulators fully understand my crew or clients. So who's the driver?
Well, in the case of maritime, it really starts with the International Maritime Organization and under that United Nations directive on that digitalisation future that we see being rolled out in various areas across multiple countries at the same time. If you look at mobile driving licenses being online already in several countries, if you look at the automotive industry across all the European and Australasia and the United States becoming digitalised. So certainly there's a mandate from governments to digitalise, and it starts there. So it's no different to your Siemens record book. It's no different. You go into a training centre like Stream Marine Intelligence Seas, get a certificate under STCW, and that certificate then is put into a folder and that's carried on board the ship. And those certificates are verified, get to the vessel. Port State Control come on the vessel and inspect that certification. So it's a real digital verified credentials. And what's important about that, to answer your question a little bit more direct, is it's the same documentation, just held securely and digitally. And so it's still the flag state administration that would issue the still the flag state would issue the COCCC. It's still the flag state that would authorise the training centre to carry out the training and issue that STCW training based on them auditing the training centre to do so. So all of those verified credentials really sit on the world's flag administrations and will remain to do so. And that gives the seafarer their qualification and therefore their empowerment to work on the vessels of the world.
When you look at the system itself, what is it offering? What are the sort of products within Maritime Passport that are attractive?
The key is being able to do it securely. So our track record, the CTO, Marcel, who built the system with me. So I set the vision. Marcel has the credentials to build a system that would meet global standards. So his technology is used already worldwide in other industries. He's a trusted source for multiple governments across the European Union, Australasia, and he's worked with it in North America as well. So really, he has the absolute credentials to build a system that would do exactly what seafarers require to have that information stored securely and presented to governments who recognise that, as well as having a gold standard in both data protection and security.
Yeah.
So are we able of producing a certificate? Yes. Are we capable of producing an electronic record book? Of course we are. Are we capable of having that accessible and that person verified by governments all around the world and authenticated while being carried in a secure wallet and while being carried in within a secure framework and a trusted source of identification? That was more challenging. Marcel's technology can read the passports, whether that has a chip or non-electronic chip, for almost every country in the world. Marcel's technology has been proven and applied. So technology track record lasting almost 2 decades, doing exactly trusted, verifiable credentials for multiple governments and multiple other industries. So it was that trusted track record for me and actually the way in which that legislation ties back into that gives us the absolute advantage when it comes to rolling out our technology. And it's very government, it's very sovereign, and it's proven to be secure. And security is the most important. We've got to protect our seafarers' data, and we've got to protect them from anyone trying to commercialise that. And we've got to make sure that that data is available for the key stakeholders in shipping while achieving that secure, protective goal.
The system itself, is it future-proof in the sense that it can now be sort of be adapted to hold other information, maybe like medical records for seafarers, employment records, all that sort of stuff? Can it do even more?
It can certainly do that. It is already built and designed. Medical records, again, it goes back to administrations of the world, the flag states of the world that authorise the doctors to provide the seafarer medic. So that's absolutely a fundamental part of the system. Employment records link back to the record book, and there is ways in which to archive employment records with that, as well as all the mandatory legislative certification. So it's very focused on that regulatory framework body piece.
Now, you've also, your Chief Commercial Officer, Peter Phillips, he's a co-founder of Maritime Passport with you. What was Peter bringing to the party as far as MP is concerned?
Yes, of course. So Peter's been with me on the journey since the start and is a very big advocate for maritime. Certainly, Peter's passion with me to bring something to the world that actually supports seafarers and encourages a safe and secure digital transition for them and transformative technology coming into maritime is certainly one of his passions. Peter's experience of doing other work in other industries where he's actually brought and encouraged working technology before was invaluable. And of course, Peter brings to me a very grounded approach. I'm very much the vision entrepreneur. He brings a very much grounded approach when it comes to our government level sovereign technology. And also we joke between ourselves that he's almost my translator, not just because of my Scottish accent, but for a very thick Glaswegian accent, actually, Sean. But he's also there providing a sounding board and a lot of direction in what we're doing. And he brings a lot of clarity. He's explaining to people about the technology. And I guess a lot of comfort that he's so passionate and so invested in our mission to bring a safe global digital transition to our seafarers through the Maritime Passport as well.
I mean, it's been referred that in a Maritime Passport is pushing boundaries. I think really we're with the onset of a lot of digital opportunities within the shipping industry in the way that vessels are operated, what have you. There's massive benefits. Do you think that this whole era now of innovation, technical innovation is going to just accelerate? I mean, and even to the extent that seafarers will finally put first, because I've been writing about the plight of seafarers for 40 years, Martin, and the need to look after them, need to protect them and all the rest of it. But you think now with the dawn of the digital age now that we've got and shipping really started racing in a very enthusiastic way, that maybe a lot of the wrongs many, many years ago can be righted because digitalisation is there to drive efficiencies. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you trumped me. I'm 25 years this year in maritime from being a cadet. But, it's great. It's a great subject because, starting as a seafarer myself, like I said, 25 years ago, I've seen a huge change in our industry. Stream Marine is a cadet management arm to that business. I think we manage approximately just over 70 cadets. We are very passionate about the welfare and how we manage that training program for people in industry. We're bringing products through Intelligent Seas that will help seafarers. So this is everything from digital products that can support the seafarer, mental health awareness products, bullying and harassment in the workplace, being another one. In fact, we have a whole portfolio dedicated purely to the welfare of our seafarers on board, and actively offer those courses on a commercial and a non-commercial basis, actually, which is something I'm passionate about, so that people have access to that learning, because for me that's important and transition our industry. To come back to your question on technology, look, the last probably three to five, not even 5 years, we've seen digital technology advance more than in the previous 100 years.
Yeah.
And that's actually a lot for people to absorb. That change, you hear the words AI, artificial intelligence, everywhere. In everyday life, it suddenly appeared more accessible to almost everybody. And it's used, right, in so many aspects of shipping now. We had IoT, which were the initial sensor technology. That's now advancing as well. The role of the seafarer is fundamentally changing, not just by the new technologies and the decarbonisation of our vessels, but also now through the technology that's coming faster and faster. And that's a lot for seafarers to absorb. So as an industry, the landscape of maritime next decade will fundamentally change. Some of the role of our seafarers will fundamentally change as well. And so, again, having a migration to everyday digital products like Maritime Passport, that actually helps people adjust to the digital world. It helps them understand digitalisation, and it helps them all feel like they're part of that digital evolution, not just because of new technology on their vessels and the world's fleet, but actually their everyday life. They're benefiting from having that digital technology. I don't have to tell you, Sean, that seafarers being completely empowered with their own certification and the data is an advancement in our industry. And also the fact that, I had experienced friends of mine at sea have lost their paper certificates. One of them was unable to work for more than 4 months because it took 4 months to collect all the certification back in. Now, with a digital wallet, that doesn't happen anymore. That goes away. So I see this as a real positive step forward, and an encouraging one too in terms of the seafarer.
But you look at how we just so depend on digital aspects of our lives, tap things, we, even buy things with our watch, for goodness sake, because that's linked into Apple Pay. Everything is digital. To the extent now that with some airlines, you can't print off a boarding pass. That has to be on a digital wallet. That is the way it's going. And of course, if we're all used to it, and the seafarers, when they're ashore, are used to it, they want to have it on ship, because that's what they're going to start demanding. And I think with something like Maritime Passport, you're giving them an aspect of security that they expect.
I think also just ties in with your point there that, our everyday life has evolved to this digital wallet and digital passports. And that will come as well through the what's going on around the world. I mentioned earlier about driving licenses there in multiple states in America. It's coming to the European Union. Our CTO is actually part of that vision. That team in Europe who are bringing that to the world. He's very involved in several governments and projects around that, and including the automotive side. But also, I think this is a natural evolution. It's not just maritime. It's our everyday life, as you say. So it's really important the seafarers of the world are not also left behind, and they're empowered. That this will do exactly that.
Well, Martin, it's fascinating, and certainly, I look forward to continuing this conversation with as far as Maritime Passport is concerned, because it certainly is a way of the industry now. It's moving in that direction. Thank goodness the seafarers now got this sort of facility that he and she can really start to plot their future, their career, knowing that all their documents are securely and stowed digitally and all safe. And I think it's an excellent initiative as well. But you're presumably now going to go off to Chelsea Flower Show, are you?
Well, yes, I've just been. My parents have descended down to London to pay me a visit. So I'll take them out for a nice bit of sunshine and some traditional Sunday lunch somewhere down here in London, and wrap up my weekend as we go into bank holiday Monday, and actually spend some time before I start travelling again. After almost 6 weeks of travel. So it's actually nice to be home and to be somewhere for more than 2 weeks. So exactly. I'm going to enjoy that. And I've appeared perfect time in London because the weather forecast the next 10 days is outstanding. So also great timing being an outdoors person.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we're really, really lucky here. So just as long as you lots of factor 50 or factor 30, I think, for me walking around. So, but Martin, I just want to say thank you very much indeed for your time today. It's been fascinating talking to you. And just for the listeners, the podcast, this podcast, and other podcasts are available on the SMI website. You can download them at leisure. This interview with Martin here will be circulated during the week of Posidonia, so it'll be good to gauge any reaction from the readership as well. Any comments you've got, please email them in to editorial@shipmanageminternational.com. Also, bjakes@elaboratecomms.com as well. To Bob Jakes, the editor, bjakes@elaboratecomms.com. Martin, thank you very much indeed for your time. I look forward to seeing you in person very soon. Yeah, make sure you're wearing a hat. It's hot out.
Yes, and the factor 50. In fact, if I acquired a factor 60 from my recent visit to the US, probably be applied in the case of today, given my inherent Scottishness.
Excellent. All the best.
All right. Thank you. All the best.